Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. One build that often gets popular right near the end of a league is people playing Eternity Shroud builds. And one of the most important pieces for an Eternity Shroud build, and definitely the hardest to get by far, is a Shaper-influenced Call of the Brotherhood. I want to point out a new method for crafting a Shaper-influenced Call of the Brotherhood that's only available in the Scourge League at the moment, as it relies upon the Tainted Mythic Orb. Now this is a probabilistic craft, so you're not guaranteed to get it, and we honestly do not know the rarity of this craft working. My suspicion is that it's somewhere in the 2 to 3% range, and if that's the case, at the current price, it's very, very profitable to carry out. However, I certainly have no sample size to base that 2 to 3% estimate on. It could be miles off. So what you need to do is start with a 2-stone ring that is cold and lightning resist, and you need to scour it. So we're just going to do this with 2 of them. The reason we're going to be scouring it is that we want to apply specific catalysts. We're going to be corrupting our 2-stone ring in the process of doing this craft because the Tainted Mythic Orb only works on a corrupted ring. And so we are going to need to apply catalysts before we know whether we're successful or not. However, one thing that's really good about the turbulent catalysts is that they're cheap. So burning 4 of them on a failed craft doesn't hurt very much at all. Next, we're going to be using a resonator. I'll explain why we're using fossils in a sec. So we're just going to use the worst and cheapest available essence just so that it becomes rare. Doesn't need to be an essence. You can use an alchemy orb. You can use an orb of binding here. And obviously, if you do use an alchemy or an orb of binding and you get something that's too good to roll over, stop the craft, pick up a new Shaper influenced 2-stone ring and start again. Lastly, I should just remind people that it must be cold and lightning resist on the 2-stone ring. And next, we're going to use the newly modified Bloodstained Fossil. The reason we're using a Bloodstained Fossil is because they guarantee that they replace the regular implicit on an item with a Vaal implicit. They also corrupt the item. So this is not what Bloodstained Fossils did in the past. The old Bloodstained Fossils no longer exist. There's something new. These haven't been well received. Most people don't use them, but they do certainly have some use in the game, and that's what we're going to do here. So this will reforge the item. This will make it into a new rare item with different mods. It'll be corrupted and it'll have a corrupted implicit modifier. As well as that, one thing that is genuinely not known at the moment is whether Bloodstained Fossils, the selection of which Vaal implicit you get, is linked to other fossils that you use or not. So just for some data points to determine whether that's the case or not, I'm going to use 3 socket resonators that, if it does turn out that the Bloodstained Fossil respects the other fossils you've got, would bias towards the most desirable possible Vaal implicits on this ring. So we're going to start with this one. This resonator is going to have a Bloodstained Fossil, a Corroded Fossil, which would make it more likely to get a bleed mod if it is possible to get the bleed mods. If it is possible to bias the resonator, we don't know that. And a Bound Fossil, which would make it more likely to get an Aura Effect mod. Now we're going to apply that, and we got an Aura Effect mod, which is good. Determination has 17% increased Aura Effect. A lot of the builds that want to use this item would use, if we do hit it, would use Determination on it. We'll do the same thing with the other fossil, so the other ring, and we now have a stat-oriented one, so 6% Dex, 5% Int, which is sort of okay. And now at this point, we've got Shaper-influenced 2-stone rings that are cold and lightning, and so these are perfect candidates for a Mythic Orb to delete them. Oops. Oops. So we didn't hit either of them. The first time I did this, I hit a Berek's Grip, which is unfortunately not what you're looking for. It's a fail case, but it's just an interesting item to have a Shaper version of, not particularly any good. But if you keep doing this enough, it may well be that you'll get lucky and you'll hit an absolute monster. If you do hit a Shaper-influenced Call of the Brotherhood that has any sort of Vaal implicit that's not terrible on it, and it's got the catalyst quality on it, it's going to be worth quite a bit. It's the sort of item that tends to sell for anywhere from 30 to 50 exalts late in a league. Currently, at the time I'm recording this video, the cheapest ones on the market are 33 exalts. So that's something that's just a little crafting project you can experiment with during the Scourge League. Obviously, I didn't hit it here, and I have no information beyond my personal belief that it's in the 2 to 3% chance to hit range as to how rare it is. I could very well be wrong on that. I've got no evidence backing it up. It's just based upon my speculations of how GGG work out unique item tiering. So if I'm wrong on that, then it could be 1%, it could be 0.25%, in which case this is a terrible deal, and there's much better uses for your Mythic Orbs. But I do think it's something that's worth a try anyway. May your Vaal Orbs and your Tainted Mythic Orbs have interesting results.